Savannah has always dedicated herself to her role as a wife and mother with all her might, sacrificing her dreams and aspirations to support her husband, Cole, and to keep the home in harmony for their children. At 38, she felt that each year of her life dedicated to marriage made her invisible, as if she were part of the furniture in the house. Cole, an ambitious and controlling businessman, seemed more interested in maintaining an impeccable image of the family than in caring for his wife's well-being. On a sunny Saturday, Cole's family gathers at his house for lunch. He always organizes these gatherings as a way to show off his status and control over everything and everyone. Savannah, as usual, has prepared every detail, from the food to the table decorations, expecting at least a word of recognition. However, Cole seems to ignore her, addressing her only to give curt orders and subtle criticisms. During lunch, one of Cole's relatives comments on the importance of women staying young and attractive. Cole takes advantage of the comment to make fun of Savannah, laughing that she should take better care of herself. The words cut like a blade, but Savannah keeps a smile on her face, struggling to contain the pain that was growing inside her. The laughter at the table seems to echo, increasing the anguish she feels in silence. On impulse, without even realizing what she was doing, Savannah stands up abruptly, the noise of her chair interrupting the laughter of the guests. With her heart racing and her voice trembling, she announces that she needs to leave, avoiding looking Cole in the eye. Without further explanation, she walks out of the house, breathing heavily and her chest tight. Each step she takes away is an attempt to leave behind the weight of that public humiliation. She heads to the house of Madeline, her longtime friend and the only person she truly trusts. Madeline welcomes her without questions, only offering the hug and the silence that Savannah so desperately needed. Savannah feels safe, as if that moment were a shelter where she could finally allow herself to fall apart. After a long silence, Savannah opens up, telling Madeline what happened. For the first time, she recognizes the depth of the emptiness she feels, confessing that she no longer knows who she really is, other than being Cole's wife. Madeline listens to every word, realizing how suffocated her friend was and how much that relationship had consumed her over the years. At the end of the night, as she lies down on her friend's couch, Savannah feels the weight of reality fall upon her. Something inside her had changed forever. It would no longer be possible to ignore the discomfort and emptiness that marriage brought her. It was as if she were standing in front of a mirror, seeing reflected a version of herself that she no longer recognized. After the conversation with Madeline, Savannah feels invigorated, as if a new strength is being born within her. She returns home later than usual, something that Cole notices immediately. He waits for her in the living room, sitting rigidly, with a cold and calculating look, showing his dissatisfaction. Savannah, unlike what she would do in other situations, does not justify herself or try to please him. She greets him calmly and goes upstairs, without letting him stop her. This different attitude does not go unnoticed by Cole, who feels his control over Savannah weaken. Over the following days, he begins to show his discontent in subtle and passive-aggressive ways, increasing his criticisms, allowing the tension to grow in the house. Savannah, however, is determined not to give in. She keeps going out to the park, where she coincidentally meets a friend from the past, Ethan. They start to meet up more often, developing a friendship that starts to fill the void that once seemed unbearable. One day, upon returning from the park, Savannah is confronted by Cole, who can no longer contain his frustration. He demands to know where she has been spending so much time and who she is seeing. Surprised by the intensity of his questions, Savannah realizes how insecure he is. She tries to avoid direct confrontation, but Cole insists, raising his voice and pressuring her to confess any secrets she is hiding. Without changing her tone of voice, Savannah says that she is simply taking time for herself, something that has always been denied to her. She emphasizes that she deserves respect and that she does not need to explain every step she takes. Cole is disconcerted by this firmness that he has never seen in her. He tries to make veiled threats about the family structure and the impact her actions could have on the children, but Savannah remains calm, avoiding the emotional trap. The impact of the confrontation is profound. For the first time, Savannah feels able to face Cole without fear, standing firm in her decision to find a life that makes sense for her. She sees in her own eyes, reflected in the mirror, the determination she thought she had lost. The tension in the house continues, but Savannah feels that something essential has changed inside her. Each time she goes out to the park, she reconnects with Ethan and with herself, slowly discovering the strength she always had, but that had been repressed over the years. As the weeks go by, Savannah and Ethan continue to meet at the park. The meetings become a silent routine, a kind of refuge where both can leave their worries outside and share a little of the peace that the other offers. Savannah feels renewed in his presence, and a true and discreet friendship begins to emerge between them. However, she realizes that, despite the tranquility he transmits to her, Ethan seems to carry a hidden sadness in his gaze. During one of their meetings, after a long conversation about dreams and fears, Ethan feels comfortable sharing something about his past. He reveals that he has also gone through difficult times and that life has imposed an irreparable loss on him. Savannah listens to every word carefully, feeling the depth of his pain as if it were her own. Ethan tells her that he has lost a very important person, someone he loved deeply and whose absence has left a mark on him. Ethan's words awaken in Savannah a mixture of compassion and identification. She realizes that she is not the only one to carry scars and that, in a way, they both share a silent pain that time has not yet managed to erase. This revelation creates an invisible bond between them, a connection that goes beyond words, something that neither of them can easily explain. As Ethan speaks, Savannah feels a comforting warmth grow inside her. The pain he shares reflects, in some way, the loneliness she feels in her marriage to Cole. At that moment, she realizes that, even though he is a stranger, Ethan understands her in a way that no one else has ever been able to. She holds his hand for a brief moment, a simple gesture that conveys the support and empathy she wants to offer. As they say goodbye, Savannah feels a pang in her heart, a sensation that reveals to her the depth of the feelings she is growing for him. Something changed between them that afternoon, something they both silently acknowledge. As she walks back home, she feels that her life has taken on new meaning, a possibility she never imagined before. As she faces the routine of her marriage and the tensions with Cole, Savannah maintains this connection with Ethan as a beacon of hope, something that helps her move forward. She knows that the path ahead will be full of challenges, but now, with Ethan's presence in her life, she feels that she is no longer alone. The days pass, and Savannah feels increasingly strengthened by the friendship and complicity she has found in Ethan. These moments of peace and understanding that they share help her to face the turbulent daily life with Cole. He, in turn, begins to notice the change in Savannah. He realizes that she is more confident, that she no longer looks down when he criticizes her and that, little by little, she has become less submissive to his impositions. This change worries Cole, who sees his control over her weakening. One day, when he arrives home after another afternoon at the park, Savannah finds Cole waiting for her, with an expression of contained anger. He looks at her with piercing eyes, full of suspicion, and asks curtly where she has been. Savannah takes a deep breath and calmly answers that she was taking care of something important to herself, without going into details. Cole is not satisfied with the answer and, raising his tone, demands an explanation. His voice becomes almost a veiled threat, showing that he is not willing to accept Savannah's rebellion. Heart racing but determined not to give in, Savannah stands her ground and says, "I have the right to make my own choices and take care of my own well-being." For the first time in years, she looks Cole directly in the eye. Without fear, and gives him an answer he didn't expect, "I don't need permission to live my life." Savannah's answer hits Cole like a blow. He, accustomed to having control over everything and everyone around him, feels destabilized. Trying to regain authority, he launches emotional threats, talking about the destruction of the family and the negative example she is setting for her children. He suggests that if she continues to act irresponsibly, the children will suffer the consequences. These words, which would have previously made her hesitate, this time do not shake her. She is no longer the same woman who always gave in out of fear or guilt. Savannah responds calmly, stating that if there is one thing she wants to show her children, it is the value of freedom and self-respect. She realizes that by standing up for herself, she is also defending a better future for them, where they can understand that they deserve to be treated with dignity. Cole, unable to control the situation, remains silent, shocked by the firmness she now demonstrates. As she leaves the room, Savannah feels a sense of relief mixed with sadness at realizing the irreversible distance between her and Cole. However, sadness is not enough to make her back down. She understands that the confrontation she experienced was inevitable and necessary to free herself from the emotional bonds he had imposed on her for years. That night, as she goes to bed, she thinks about Ethan and the silent support he represents. This thought gives her strength, renewing her certainty that she can find a path that makes her feel complete and happy. After the confrontation with Cole, Savannah feels increasingly determined to find new meaning in her life. Between the daily chores, she finds refuge in her meetings with Ethan and, occasionally, seeks out Madeline to vent about the challenges she faces. During one of these visits, Savannah decides to open up more to her friend about what has been happening with Cole and mentions the changes she feels within herself. Madeline, upon hearing the story, seems hesitant. She lowers her gaze and, in a whispered tone, admits that she had long been aware of Cole's emotional abuse of Savannah, but chose not to intervene. Her confession is filled with regret, and she tries to explain that, at the time, she believed it was best not to intervene so as not to cause problems between them. She felt that any word could make the situation worse and that perhaps Savannah was not ready to hear it. The revelation hits Savannah hard. She feels a mixture of hurt and surprise at realizing that her longtime friend had witnessed her suffering without offering help. Even though she understands Madeline's justifications, Savannah can't help but feel betrayed. After all, Madeline had always been her safe haven, and knowing that she kept quiet brings a new layer of pain. Still, Savannah tries to remain calm and rationalize what she heard. She wonders if, deep down, she might have ignored the signs to maintain her own peace, preferring to believe that her marriage was just a difficult phase. Madeline's revelation works. Like a mirror, reflecting how much she had also chosen to ignore what was right before her eyes. After a long moment of silence, Savannah finds the strength to forgive Madeline, understanding that the fear of speaking the truth was also a barrier for her friend. She thanks Madeline for finally opening up, and although their friendship is marked by this confession, there is also a sense of relief. This forgiveness allows Savannah to move forward on her path of self-discovery and strengthens her resolve not to allow herself to be oppressed again. By the end of the conversation, Savannah feels a renewed clarity about what she needs to do. Madeline's confession, although painful, becomes a reminder that she can no longer ignore her own happiness. And as she heads to another meeting with Ethan, she feels that each step she takes is a step towards the emotional freedom she has sought so much. The relationship between Savannah and Ethan grows in intensity with each meeting. They spend hours talking about their lives, their fears, and their hopes for the future, creating an intimacy that goes beyond words. For Savannah, these moments are like a breath of life, a renewal she never imagined possible. She feels truly seen and accepted, an experience she never had in her marriage to Cole. Ethan, in turn, feels equally connected to Savannah, recognizing in her a courage and a gentleness that deeply attracts him. On an autumn afternoon, as they walk together in the park, the atmosphere seems charged with something more. They sit on a bench, and the silence between them is almost palpable, full of unspoken feelings that they both avoid facing directly. Savannah, who has always been reserved in her displays of affection, feels her heart race at Ethan's closeness. He looks into her eyes, and she senses the tenderness he tries to express without words, as if waiting for a sign from her to get even closer. Savannah feels a mix of fear and desire, it's as if she's about to cross a line that can't be undone. However, the security she feels with Ethan encourages her. Without thinking much, she leans slightly towards him, and Ethan, understanding the gesture, gently approaches her, until their faces are just inches apart. When they finally kiss, it's as if time has stopped. The kiss is soft and full of contained feelings, a moment of silent surrender where both of them let go of their defenses and simply allow themselves to feel. For Savannah, that kiss represents much more than a simple act of affection. It's a symbol of her liberation, a step towards a new life that she's starting to build for herself. After the kiss, they remain silent, smiling at each other, both aware of what that moment represents. Without needing words, they understand that what they feel is real, something that neither of them planned or expected. At the same time, they know that this new feeling will bring challenges and consequences that they will need to face with courage. As she walks back home, Savannah feels that everything around her seems more vivid. The world, which once seemed overwhelming, now fills her with possibilities. She knows that the kiss with Ethan marked a turning point in her life, something that Cole could never understand or accept. Savannah finally begins to accept that she deserves to be happy, that she is worthy of experiencing a love that makes her feel alive. Savannah and Ethan continue to meet regularly, increasingly involved in a connection that seems unbreakable. However, their tranquility is shaken by the unexpected arrival of a figure from Ethan's past. Lillian, a woman of about 35 years old, suddenly appears in town and goes to meet him. Savannah, who was already creating expectations about a future with Ethan, feels deeply insecure when she sees them together for the first time. Lillian was a great love in Ethan's life, someone he loved deeply and who, for painful reasons, had to leave behind. Her presence now rekindles memories and feelings that he thought were resolved, but which resurface with unexpected intensity. Lillian needs help to resolve issues from her past and, in Ethan, she seeks support and a familiarity that brings her comfort. Savannah, not wanting to show her fears, tries to be understanding and supports Ethan, but she cannot help the jealousy that invades her. Doubt begins to corrode her peace. She fears that the bond between Ethan and Lillian may be stronger than what he feels for her. Although she trusts Ethan, their closeness makes her question whether their past still holds unresolved feelings that could threaten the love she is beginning to build with him. Ethan notices Savannah's discomfort and, one night, decides to talk to her. He explains that Lillian, despite having been important in his life, is part of a chapter that he has already closed. He says that, when she sought him out, it was out of necessity and not out of a desire to resume the relationship they once had. Ethan reassures Savannah, revealing that she is the one he chooses every day, and that his love for her is deep and real. Savannah, relieved, feels that Ethan's words reaffirm her security and confidence in what they are building together. This moment of vulnerability serves to strengthen the bond between the two, making it clear that, despite the challenges, they are willing to face any obstacle to be together. For Savannah, this proof of commitment represents an important step, strengthening her decision to seek a life where her love and happiness are a priority. At the end of the meeting, she realizes that her relationship with Ethan is not just a refuge from the past, but a real and promising future. Lillian's return, previously seen as a threat, becomes an opportunity for Savannah to further consolidate her trust in Ethan and in her own worth. With Lillian's return resolved and her trust in Ethan renewed, Savannah feels that the next step is to make a definitive decision regarding her marriage to Cole. The weight of living a double life begins to wear on her, and she realizes that she cannot no longer delaying the inevitable. Ethan supports her in every decision, but respects her time, knowing that she needs to find the strength to face Cole on her own. One day, after a sleepless night, Savannah decides it is time to be honest and seek her freedom. She waits until her children are out of the house to avoid exposing them to confrontation. With a calmness that surprises even herself, she approaches Cole and tells him that she wants to separate. Cole, taken aback, reacts initially with disbelief and then with anger. He accuses her of being ungrateful and of destroying the family because of fantasies. Savannah listens to every word with a serenity that he cannot shake. She exposes, for the first time, her pain, the emptiness she felt for years, and how the lack of respect and love has eroded everything that once existed between them. Cole tries to manipulate the situation, using the well-being of her children as an argument to convince her to give up. But Savannah remains firm. She understands that, in order to give her children a real example of dignity and strength, she needs to be true to her own feelings and seek happiness. When she realizes that Savannah will not give in, Cole makes financial threats, saying that she will not be able to maintain the standard of living she is accustomed to without him. Savannah, however, is prepared to make any sacrifice in exchange for the peace and freedom she desires. She firmly states that there is no material comfort that can compensate for a life without love and respect. This moment represents a definitive rupture for Savannah. She feels that she is leaving behind years of submission and silence, finally taking control of her life. When she leaves the conversation, she experiences a feeling of lightness, as if a huge weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She knows that the path ahead will be difficult and full of uncertainty, but now, for the first time, she feels truly free to build the life she wants alongside those who respect and value her. After the confrontation, Savannah meets Ethan in the park. She shares with him what happened, and he receives her with understanding and silent support, reinforcing that he is by her side for whatever she needs. This new beginning with Ethan brings Savannah a sense of fulfillment, confirming that she made the right decision in prioritizing her own well-being and happiness. After the decisive conversation with Cole, Savannah feels more confident about her choice, but she knows that the conflict is far from over. Cole, unhappy with the separation, begins to make the environment increasingly hostile. He refuses to leave the house and tries to manipulate the situation so that Savannah feels guilty and regretful, looking for ways to make her give up on the divorce. The days that follow are marked by silent provocations and emotional manipulation, especially in the presence of the children, which Cole uses as a way to control Savannah. He tries to convince them that she is destroying the family, making them feel that their mother's new behavior is a threat to their stability. Savannah, although shaken by Cole's attitude, she decides to face this situation head-on, protecting her children from the tension. With Ethan's support, Savannah seeks legal advice and begins to take steps to ensure her independence. Cole realizes that he is losing control and intensifies his resistance, using every means possible to make her life difficult. He makes threats about the custody of the children and tries to manipulate the legal processes to make the separation even more difficult. In one of the most intense arguments, Cole crosses the line and raises his tone, making it clear that he will not accept the separation peacefully. Savannah, however, does not back down. She maintains a firm stance, refusing to be intimidated. At that moment, she realizes that the decision to leave him was not only a personal choice, but a necessary action to protect her dignity and ensure a healthy environment for her children. This constant struggle begins to affect Savannah emotionally, but Ethan, always by her side, supports her with patience and strength. He becomes her refuge in the midst of chaos, offering her the unconditional support she never received from Cole. Thanks to this new strength, Savannah is able to resist the pressures, reaffirming her commitment to her freedom and well-being. With each step she takes towards independence, Savannah feels stronger and more determined to build a life of peace and love for herself and her children. She understands that, although the path is full of challenges, she will never again be alone in facing them. With Cole finally accepting the inevitability of divorce, Savannah envisions the beginning of a new phase, where her happiness and security are non-negotiable priorities. After the final confrontation with Cole, Savannah finds herself in a new phase of her life, a stage that requires time and patience to heal the wounds of the past. She realizes that the freedom she has gained also brings an opportunity to rebuild everything that has been emotionally destroyed over the years. This new phase invites her to revisit her choices and, above all, to recover aspects of herself that were dormant. Now, Savannah is able to dedicate herself fully to her children, creating an environment of love and sincerity. For the first time, she feels that she can be the mother she always wanted to be, without the shadows of Cole's oppression, and her children react positively, approaching her with affection and trust. On a sunny afternoon, Savannah decides to take her children for a walk in the park. This place, which once represented a kind of silent refuge, has now become a symbol of new beginnings and new possibilities. She watches them as they play, and is moved to realize that, little by little, they are adapting to this new reality. The park, which was once the scene of painful encounters, now witnesses the reconstruction of a family that has found a new form of happiness. Each step Savannah takes in that place is a reminder of her strength and how much she has achieved so far. In the midst of this personal renewal, Savannah receives an unexpected message from Madeline, her longtime friend. The invitation to talk awakens feelings. Ambiguous, on the one hand, there is the desire to reconnect with a precious friendship, but on the other, there is resentment for Madeline's silence during the years of suffering. Even so, Savannah accepts the invitation, because she knows that in order to move forward she must resolve all the unfinished aspects of her life. When they meet, Madeline shows regret, with her eyes downcast and her voice trembling as she apologizes. She confesses that she was afraid to address Savannah's suffering for fear of damaging the friendship and because she didn't know how to offer help. Savannah listens to her in silence, understanding that, just like her, Madeline also had to face her own limitations. In a gesture of maturity and empathy, Savannah decides to forgive her, not only to rebuild the friendship, but to free herself from the weight of the hurt. Forgiveness becomes an act of self-acceptance, allowing both of them to reconnect in a more honest and profound way. At the end of the meeting, Savannah feels an unexpected relief. She realizes that by forgiving Madeline, she has freed up space in her heart for new and better experiences to take shape. Back to her routine, Savannah finds in Ethan the emotional support she always needed. He welcomes her with open arms, offering the stability and security that Cole never gave her. In this embrace, Savannah feels that she has finally achieved the peace and strength she needs to move forward, ready to build a life based on love, respect, and freedom. As the days go by, Savannah begins to recognize that the life she is building finally reflects her true essence. The tensions, fears, and conflicts of the past are left behind, and in their place, a feeling of freedom emerges that completely envelopes her. Her relationship with her children strengthens naturally, full of moments of affection and togetherness, now without the emotional barriers that once separated them. Savannah feels that every moment with them is a new opportunity to show the love and protection she always wanted to give, but was prevented from offering fully. Ethan, who was a constant presence in her transformation, now officially becomes part of her daily life. They make the decision to live together, not for convenience, but because they both found in each other the true meaning of home and companionship. The house they share is a peaceful environment, where complicity and mutual respect are the pillars that support this new phase of their lives. Each room, each detail of the decoration, reflects the journey of love and courage that led them there. On a quiet evening, sitting on the porch, Savannah decides to open up completely to Ethan. She talks about the pains and challenges she faced, about the lonely nights and the anguish of a marriage without affection. Ethan listens to her attentively, without judgment, and, when she finishes, expresses his admiration for the strength and courage that led her to reinvent herself. This moment is a true communion of souls, where they both share their vulnerabilities and reaffirm their commitment to building a life based on support and truth. In the following months, Savannah rediscovers passions and hobbies that she had left behind. She begins to read more often, tend to the garden and explore new ways of expression through art. These activities bring her a sense of renewal, as if she were recovering parts of herself that had been stifled. Her children observe this change and feel inspired by the joy they now see in their mother, understanding that the pursuit of happiness is a right that everyone has. With Ethan's support and the love of her children, Savannah feels prepared to face any obstacle that life may still bring. She knows that the path will be full of ups and downs, but she is confident that she now has the emotional strength to deal with each challenge. The past, which she once carried as a burden, has become a distant memory, a memory that has taught her lessons and strengthens her determination to move forward. Savannah and Ethan walk hand in hand through the park where it all began. Around them, the lush nature reflects the inner blossoming they have experienced together. Savannah observes the peaceful movement of the trees and feels an unparalleled peace. Ethan holds her hand firmly, and together they walk in silence, each step reaffirming the life they have built, made of love, respect and freedom. Savannah now understands that she has found what she has always sought, a home within herself and with those who value her. Subscribe to my channel. This is very important to me. A hug.